I continue in English. Good afternoon to you all. I represent in Geneva basically 3 South American organizations. Centro para Estudos Legales e Sociales de Argentina, Conectas from Brazil, and Corporación Humanas from Chile. So what we have established here since a number of years is a joint initiative of these 3 organizations to act before the Human Rights Council. So that's what the work we've been doing. I agree very much with the spirit of union in opposition to fragmentation. We have to work together in your country, in your region. And in this regard, it's true that we have been able also to bring attention to the attention of the Council many regional, many Latin American experiences or problems, challenges ahead. But we are here to talk about the UPR. I've seen on the list of participants that we have some colleagues from the region, Gabriel, Jorge, Gloria. I don't know. They go here, yeah. Okay. Okay. So at any time you can, make questions and so on. So first of all, let's have a look at our political context and historical context. The countries mostly in South America and Latin America in general, they have been independent for now over 2 centuries, so they don't have a recent colonization process. They have undergone a dictatorship in the recent decades, and now gradually, they're going through a recent or incomplete transitional process. So our redemocratization is consolidating or on the process of consolidation. Roughly, we had 2 decades of contemporary democracy, and a big landmark of this process is the ratification of human rights treaties. So mostly if you see a pattern, of accession to UN treaties, they were before a bit in between, let's say, the early 90s. We have a fast procedure of accession to these treaties. However, we have difficult implementation. So in general, it's easy to ratify, but then to implement it's furthermore complicated. So the region has these characteristics. They are democracies, but they were not metropoles. So we haven't colonized any other territory. So we stay a bit in the mediation between the 2 Western and the least developed nations. Also, still many contrasts between the achievements we have made in economic terms, but still this contrasts with the huge challenges we still have. Still inequalities, still deficient rule of law. So this all that we will point how civil society and states, they sort of behave in the UPR process. What I propose here is to make 2 different and complementary cases. First, a country in Latin America, namely Chile, who was revised, was under review in the general section. And the second one is Brazil as a recommending state, how is a Latin American state making recommendation on how civil society acted, or what are our strategies, strengths, and also challenges that we all have. Let's have a look at Chile. So Chile was revised now in 2014. Corporación Humanas led coordination process of 14 organizations together with the National Human Rights Institution. Chile has one, but Brazil doesn't. And we touched upon national human rights infrastructure, so laws, the role of the judiciary, equality, non-discrimination, which was a strong point for our advocacy concerns, women's participation, focus also on laws, anti-terrorist law being applied to indigenous peoples, LGBTI. So this was the main background. So how do we act? We coordinated our common civil society report, and then we acted in both foreign embassies in Santiago and the missions here, so we coordinate. Sometimes we were able to talk to both, sometimes we were able either to talk, to have meetings in the embassy or here in the mission of Geneva. So we wanted to make sure, as much as possible to talk to both embassy and mission to make sure we did mainly a follow-up process. Then in this regard we made a chart comparing what the state has said, slash what really happened. So giving the mission, the other states detail on what was the state of the implementation. For example, on the assistance to victims during the dictatorship, the state has generally declared that it had provided assistance to victims in executions, disappearance, and so on. But then we came up and said, look, the National Commission established for that put very strict criteria for eligibility, and then they cover only 30%. So this was one of our concerns on that. Then we were able to make a follow-up on each state, what they had recommended back in 2009, and what we wished them to, what we thought was important for them to recommend. For example, Germany with institutional arrangements, Uruguay, women and indigenous people, Turkey, the issue of military justice, Finland, Sweden, and Netherlands, they made back in 2009 recommendations on decriminalization of abortion, because in Chile it is too strict. So that was how we have tagged on that. We counted pretty much also on regional partners to do that, so that they could also strengthen and reinforce with their respective countries, to make a recommendation for Chile. In the case of Chile, still, we had a general assessment. They accepted 180 out of 185 recommendations. Most importantly is that the UPR process in itself was in between of